Hello there. I'm no Jedi. What's going on, everyone? We're talking Armada Wave 10 leaks, brand new images for Star Wars Armada's Wave 10. And I'm starting off videos again wearing my costume pieces here. This is the Ahsoka Tano one. She's appropriate because she is featured in one of these images. We're going to talk about these images. We're going to talk about some of the new ships, and look, I know I just did a video this morning talking about this whole wave, and of course now all of a sudden the pre-orders drop, and there's more information that we can glean from some of the I don't know if it was intentional for them to reveal this much information, but we have an awful lot to talk about. Hey everybody that's going on in the chat, thank you for joining me today. We are going to talk Armada Wave 10 leaks. There are quite a bit to talk about, and I am still going to make some individual videos talking about these ships one-on-one, but I figured I would talk with you guys because this is pretty exciting. And I did post all of these images in my Discord. If you're not already in Discord, make sure you check out the links in the description below. There's links to Discord in there. They're pinned in the Armada channel. I know that the Fantasy Flight forums are going down soon. Actually, I was talking on there a little bit today because they're going down at the end of the month. We only got a few days left for the Fantasy Flight forums, and there are other forums up there. There's other message boards, and there's a lot, but I don't know if there's really any one place that covers all of the Fantasy Flight games and stuff. So if you're somebody who's interested in keeping it up with like X-Wing and Legion and Armada and maybe Imperial Assault when that happens and stuff like that, I think my Discord is a good place for that because I cover all of these things. And while there's lots of other ones, they tend to be a little bit more singularly focused on a specific game, whereas I cover a lot, although Armada is my favorite game. So, oh, we got a super chat already from Bleed Green Productions. Bleeding green for the crab with the blue logo. What happened? What do you get when you combine blue and green? I don't know. I think it just makes blue-green. I don't know what color that is. But thank you for. It wouldn't be a live chat if it didn't start out without Bleed Green Productions. I feel like they're always right up in there. But hey, how are you guys all doing tonight? I've been changing up the times for my live streams. But I'm going to go into these. We're going to talk about all these images. I'm not stalling. I'm just giving time for people to join. I'll go ahead and we'll pull up the first one first. This is also, all of these images are from the Asmodee store. They're from the pre-order page. And we'll zoom them in a little bit and we'll get some better looks at them. So this is the Providence class Dreadnought. The first thing that you can see is Jedi Hostage, right in the middle. So that's kind of cool. Kind of zooming in on Jedi Hostage a little bit. When an enemy ship declares, I'm guessing you as the target of attack, a non-salvo attack. So if they attack you normally, not if they salvo you, but if they attack you normally, if this card is readied, the attacker, it basically affects a token. So if they're going to attack you, it's going to cost them, I think, a defense token or a command token, some type of token. Or maybe they get a raid token. So basically it's like, this kind of Jedi Hostage reminds me a little bit of the Palpatine Officer card, because it's like, hey, attack me if you want, but there's going to be pain in it for you. There is going to be pain. So that's an interesting little bit right there. The other thing is Admiral Trench. Look, I knew he was coming, right? They had to have made him because there was art for him featured at Gen Con. And I've been asking people, and that's not bad. 105 is the cost from the chat. Faith is said yes, that is correct. It does look like it's 105 right here. Now these are as high resolution as I could get them. They are not, they're basically, they had to be grabbed and kind of reformatted a couple of times in order to get them this way. And this isn't the highest resolution that they exist, but this is the highest resolution that they're available right now. But yeah, we can see a little bit of both versions of the Providence. We also can see that it does have 9 hull over there. For the carrier, the Dreadnought, however, Also has 9 hull. So we can see a couple of things. First off, for the Dreadnought, this is the Dreadnought's ship base here. It only has 1 blue anti-squadron, and it also has 9 hull. Yeah, it's got, I mean, we can see its dice armament. It's pretty well rounded. It's a little more broadsided. But look at those shields. 5 shields in the front, 3 shields on the sides, 2 in the rear. Lots of dice, all 3 colors in every arc. This is a nasty ship, and it's not that expensive too. I think this ship kind of reminds me a little bit of Home 1. A little bit. It's got a little bit less shields, but it's got more hull. But I feel like it's kind of that kind of well-rounded ship, heavily shielded, that probably isn't going to be that easy to kill. But it also is going to be long, also physically look like Home 1 a little bit. But I think it's going to make a good flagship. I think this is the type of ship that wants to be a good flagship. Now, what we can see is, at least for the Providence class Dreadnought, is it does not have a defensive retrofit. So that's going to limit its survivability. So it's not going to be exactly like Home 1, right? Like, nothing here is going to be exactly like the other one, but there's some similarities, and then but each thing is going to be slightly different, and I think it's going to be really, really cool. So we have 1 officer. We've got a weapons team, which is, I mean, a weapons team is always a nice one. We got offensive retrofit. We've got ordnance, ion cannon, and 2 turbo lasers. So at least in the case of the Providence class Dreadnought, here's a ship that wants to attack. This one wants to jump right in to battle and attack everything it can. It wants to double arc, or if it needs to, I mean, it wants to do so much stuff. And you can give this thing all kinds of, you got 2 black dice and everywhere but the back, rather. I mean, it's gorgeous. Just for attacking, for getting up close too, because the Separatists a lot of times don't want to get up that close, but this one can. And here's another thing, how I kind of said that this one was like Home 1. I don't know if the carrier is going to have different, well, obviously it's going to have some different things, but I don't know if it's going to be cheaper or more expensive. I kind of feel like the Dreadnought is going to be the more expensive version, right? If it's more offensive with all those turbo laser slots, I think, and let me know what you guys think in the comments section. Do you think the carrier will be the cheaper version, or do you think the Dreadnought will be the cheaper version? But yeah, with those upgrades, I really think I think that's the more expensive. It's also got Droid, Bombard, and Transport. I'm thinking by this point we'll see some upgrades that require like Droid, Transport, or Bombard. We haven't seen anything to use. Well, we have seen Droid, but I don't think we've seen Transport or Bombard yet. I'm drinking coffee. I know it's late to be drinking coffee, but I'm drinking coffee. I'm trying to get away from soda. Soda is not good for me. Yeah. But it's my porg cup, by the way. You guys like my porg cup? Being kind of casual tonight as we talk about these awesome new leaks. If you guys are just joining us, we've got new leaks for all 4 of the Wave 10 ships. This is the first one. We're talking about these images. We're going through them in close-up detail. But I think even if the carrier doesn't have a defensive retrofit, I mean, you know, because if it does, I think that's the one you probably want more likely to be your, where's the T? Oh, I get it. That's a reference to my community posts yesterday, right? What are your thoughts on the price increase? I'm going to do a separate video about that, but I think it's reasonable. It's unfortunate when you're on a budget. I am, you know, I feel like I'm in a different place because my YouTube videos and your super chats and all of the things that I do for this channel help finance all of this stuff. And so I'm in a slightly different position because, I mean, granted, I also work. I have a day job as well. So I'm so that my income doesn't take away from the family. That's why one of the reasons why, you know, I monetize the channel is to help kind of do this stuff. But I still definitely feel it. Like, if you were thinking of running like 3 Venators or 3 or even 4 Recusants or something like that, because we're going to talk about that, it's going to be very expensive to run. However, It's not that much of an increase over what large ships already costed, and it's cheaper than the Starhawk, which is from a certain point of view. That's something to keep in mind. But I mean, we'll talk a little bit more about the costs and stuff like that. But I think I'm going to save that for another video, because I was looking at inflation and other things like that, and I want to kind of put together a little bit more of an analysis on it, and because I don't think it's that big of a deal, but everybody's wallet is different, everybody's budget is different, and some people are gonna be hit harder by those price changes than others. I am in a position where I'll be able to afford one of each, but not everybody's going to be able to do that. And so I understand, but that's usually why you just pick a faction. If you pick Separatists, I think you're already planning to spend more anyway, because Separatists are a little bit more of like the... have I seen the YouTube exploit? Yes, I have. I did a bunch of community posts yesterday with a lot of those keywords in them. It's not doing much. It's not doing much. It's they're performing about the same as my normal community posts do. I think that exploit is probably only going to work if you are a really big YouTuber trying to become astronomical. Like if you're already over the tipping point, and I'm well under 100,000 subs, where he talked about when he first did it, he was well over 100,000 subs, and so I think maybe there's something like that. But yeah. Cayman Talon, I hope I said your name right, pre-ordered one of each ship earlier today at your local store. Held on to Christmas money, just waiting for this wave to be announced. All right, well, it looks pretty cool. Look, the Providence class, we got an extra anti-squadron die on it. But here's a little... this whole ship feels a little different than the other Separatist ships we've seen. They don't have as much in the way of red dice. This is a ship that wants to get in closer. For its anti-squadron battery, in both cases, it wants to be a little bit closer. We also have another upgrade up here, up top, that looks like it's zooming in on some shields. It's so I am inclined to believe that the Providence class carrier will have a defensive retrofit, because you see this shield. You got Y-wings trying to bomb this thing, and it's kind of repelling their bombs right up here. That's what I'm talking about. I think. All right. Well, I'm glad I got your name right, Cayman. I almost said "come on," but I'm like, no, that doesn't sound right. Honestly, it was a little bit of a guess, but I'm glad I guessed at least partially right. All right, so yeah, the Providence looks good. I'm going to move on. We're going to come back to the Providence. If you're just joining us, we're going through all of the new ships. Providence at 105 for the Dreadnought. If the carrier has defensive retrofit, it could be more. Or I'm actually, you know what, this might be the first time where both versions of a ship cost the same, too. Wouldn't that be something? Wouldn't that be different? Wouldn't that be different? All right, next up we've got the Recusant. The Recusant. Oh, this one. This is cool. All right, so there's a whole lot to unpack here. 85 points, it looks like. All right, so let's zoom in a little more. Hold on, I'm doing this stuff real. 80. That's an 85 right there, guys. That is an 85 point. That's something. And you know what? How many of you... I want to know something, if you guys don't mind. How many of you guys watched my video from this morning when these were previewed? And I said, how, is it possible that the Recusant could be in the high... I said in the high 80s, or low 90s to high 80s. I was pretty close with my guess. And honestly, though, it wasn't that much of a guess. The FFG article talked about running these things in numbers. It will be tough. Well, no, to squeeze 3 in. I think you can squeeze 4 in. You can put 4 of these in a 30-point commander, no problem. You can put 4 of these in a 20-point commander and then have points for upgrades. Now, 4 of these, that's rough, right? I think, I don't know. See, this is the really scary part, because there's a big part of me that says I want to run 4 of these, but I know I won't do that very much. And is it worth really buying 4 of these at that increased cost for like the 1 or 2 times I'll ever run that list? I don't see. I think 3 is in the cards. I think 3 Recusants is definitely a possibility. At that price, man, like that's a medium ship price for a large ship with 8 hull and pretty fair shields. It's honestly, I feel like, goodness, I don't know, man. This is I feel like this is a medium ship just on a large base. I feel like, what do you guys think? Do you, any of you guys thinking, oh, is it ASMR with me slurping coffee? I'm sorry. No, but, yeah, the 85 points, 3 shields on the sides, 3 shields on the front, 2 shields on the back, pretty well shielded, reminds me a little bit of the assault frigate. A little bit of the assault frigate, but that front arc makes a big deal. I mean, and an 8 hull makes a big deal. We can only see it has an evade and a redirect. We can't see all of the defense tokens here. We can't see all the defense tokens, but we know it has at least 3. Let's talk about upgrades. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. We've got an officer, we've got weapons team, we've got offensive retrofit, ordnance, and turbo laser. So actually not bad. I thought it might have been a little light on upgrades, and it's actually kind of in the middle. I thought we might have seen kind of something like this, but maybe one less. I didn't know if it would have weapons team or if it would either be short weapons team or offensive retrofit. I don't know if it really needs offensive retrofit. And I'm curious how different the support destroyer is going to be from the light destroyer. I would imagine the light destroyer will have a lower squadron value. The light destroyer is also possibly the cheaper of the two. If you look at the anti-squadron armament, it's got a blue die versus the support destroyer has a red die. So that's also pretty interesting. Usually red die ships tend to cost more. They both have 8 hull. You can see that they each have 8 hull. Another thing that I don't think we have seen yet is 2 versions of the same ship to have different defense tokens. So, yeah, it is. It's over 1,000 meters. Anything over 1,000 meters is usually going to be a large ship. Now, in Legends, there were multiple versions of just about everything. There were multiple types. There were lots of different types of recusants, but there was another type that was over 2,000 meters long. I think the same thing goes with the Providence. I think there was another Providence that was over 2,000 meters long too. So I'm not sure how all of that translates exactly to canon. Andrew Lynch says, my wife is going to be really surprised by her birthday gifts on April 16th. Oh, are you getting... Is your wife's birthday on April 16th? Or you mean her birthday gift that she has to buy for you? But, yeah. Hey, everybody. If you are just joining us, we are going through all of the new images that have come out for Wave 10. A lot of stuff kind of leaked a little early. So we also have 3 more guys to talk about at the top here. We've got this guy in the top left over here. And this guy, I looked him up earlier. He is, I closed it out. I had his name. They're digging deep for this guy. He's one of those guys who is, what did they call him? I gotta find it again. Oh my goodness. His name is Pascal Argente. And I don't know if he's a commander or what. One thing we do know, and there's a chance that he'll be a commander, because I think he was one of those founding members of the Separatists. But we do know that... What? Did I lose? There it is. Oh, we got a super chat from JM. Dude, thank you, JM, for the support. JM says, hope you're having a good day, bro. Well, with all of these new Armada leaks, I'm definitely having a good day. I was pretty... So I actually recorded this morning's video late last night and was working on it last night. It took me a long time to get that one done. That's why I knew I wasn't going to have it up. I would have rather have had it up right away, but I was too excited, and I think a lot of it shone through because I was kind of silly in that one. I'm a little worn out, but yeah. Trench's flagship is the 2 kilometers longer version of the Providence. Yeah, he's got a name for it. Isn't it like the Invincible? I think that's the name of Admiral Trench's version of the flagship. And you know what I think? Here's what I think that they're going to do. We're going back a little bit. I'm going to go back to the Providence for a minute, if in case some of you all there, in case some of you guys just joining haven't seen the Providence leaks already, because we know Trench is here. I hope the Invincible is a title for this thing. Well, I mean, if they have Trench, it makes sense for them to have the Invincible. I hope that's a title, and I hope it is an expensive title. If it was supposed to be a 20-point, I'm thinking like a 20-point title. If it was supposed to be a bigger version of the ship, I would hope that it's got like a title that grants you like extra hull and extra shields or something like that. Like and that's what that might be. That shielding right there, it might even not even be a defensive retrofit. It could be the title, but I hope it's a defensive. Basically, a title that says this ship is actually much larger than most of the other ones, so it's going to have more hull. It's going to be tougher to kill, and maybe it's 20 points, or maybe even more than that. I could see a 30-point surcharge if it's going to give it a lot more hull and basically make it the equivalent of, like a Starhawk-sized ship or something like that. That's my thoughts. I'm curious what you guys think, though. Ahsoka says the card with the defensive retrofit must be the Invincible title upgrade. Yeah, that's absolutely it. It might be, and that's the other thing, is it could grant a defensive retrofit. I think it needs to grant more hull, though. If it's twice the size of the ship, I think it needs to grab more hull. And I'm going to have another sip of my Porg coffee. This is Porg juice, courtesy of Chewbacca. No, he would never share his Porgs. I still think in The Last Jedi, Chewbacca ate almost all of the Porgs. There were a lot of Porgs on the Millennium Falcon, by the way, and I know I'm just doing a complete left turn to sequel trilogy movies, which I usually don't talk about that much. But look, there were a lot of Porgs on there at the beginning, and then by the end of the movie, there's only one left. I think the other one's got in his belly. All right. So we were talking about, we don't know anything about that guy. Then we've got these jump jet dudes. I think this is kind of like a boarding team. I think that's what we're seeing up here at the top. They look like they're trying to cut through the hull of a Venator. And so I think that's basically another type of a boarding team, and kind of cool. I think we're going to see, I think this is an indication that we'll eventually see Discord missiles, because we had Discord missiles kind of featured on the cover of the rulebook that Learn to Play. I think that's what that means. And then we've got TF-1726. This is our T-Series tactical droid. This is probably going to be a commander. I'm guessing a 20-point commander, maybe, or maybe a cheaper commander for this. And it says after activation. Let's scroll him up. Or once per activation, probably. It's probably once per activation. While a friendly ship, I'm guessing, is attacking a ship, the attacker, something black die to its attack pool, token, the defender. Something. So I don't know if he's letting you gain a black die when you attack other ships. If so, oh mama. I don't know. It looks like there's a trade-off with that too. Like maybe you get to add a die, but the defender gets a token or something like that. That sounds bonkers. That sounds bonkers. I do think the light destroyer will have a lighter squadron value, and I think the support destroyer might be a little more expensive. But if it's cheaper, if the support destroyer is cheaper, I mean, what is his dice profile going to look like? It's got to lose dice. I mean, with these lines, I mean, goodness gracious. I don't even need all of these upgrades if it's going to be that good, right? Like, I could run this naked. You know what I mean? It's just insane. Could be raid tokens. Ling27 says it could be raid tokens. That's a possibility. Oh, the Pelta. Oh, Pelta. We've got to talk. We've got to talk about the Pelta. Pelta's seeing some differences. The Pelta's got a lot of differences. This is a different ship. I had thought a little bit about, like, hey, if there's a big long wait, for the next wave, then maybe for some of your early Clone Wars games. Where's the Venator? The Venator's coming. I saved the Venator to last because that's the It's the Venator, and I think it deserved a special place at the end. And then we can go back through them all again, so don't worry, don't worry. If you guys are just joining us, we are talking about all of these new images from Armada's Wave 10. All of this stuff got posted up on the Asmodee site. This is, and I've kind of cropped out the background a little bit, and I'm blowing them up, and we're going to talk about some of these new things. The Pelta here, we can see a couple of really interesting things. First off, the transport frigate is much cheaper than our other versions of the Pelta, which were 60 points and 56 points, respectively. So that's really something. Like, super cheap. Super cheap. Wow. Yeah. That's very different. The Pelta's quite different here. And also, yes, it's got the wings back too. It looks cool. It's cool. I'm gonna talk more about it when I do individual ship videos. I'll be talking about these. Poured coffee. Gosh, coffee's good. I did not like coffee when I was younger, but now, man, I cannot get enough of it. All right. So yeah, but no, it's you've got the 3 red or the 2 red and a black, 2 red in the back, kind of the same dice profile as the Pelta class assault ship. I don't know if the defense tokens will be the same. They were very clear on this particular spread to have the Pelta's card cover up the medical frigate's tokens, right? Everything's strategically placed here. They're also covering up the anti-squadron dice of this particular one. I'm guessing blue and black because that would match the Rebel version. But this is 11 points cheaper. Well, no, this is the transport frigate. Yeah, that's what we're looking at here. So we don't actually even get a look at the medical frigate. I got no idea what's on the medical frigate other than 5 hull, right? Shields are still the same. But upgrades are different. So the transport frigate has a defensive retrofit, which is kind of cool, because now you can maybe do some small ship swarms, right? How many of you guys are thinking about maybe small ship swarm? Shawarma? Small ship swarm. You say that too many times, and you're going to say shawarma. I think that's how the shawarma was invented. By the way, shawarma are fantastic, and if you've ever had one actually in the Middle East, my first shawarma was in Saudi Arabia. And it was, they don't make them anywhere else like they make them in Saudi Arabia. They're really, really good. They put a little bit of pickle in there. I don't like pickles, but I'll eat them on a shawarma. And they put French fries on them too. So good, so good. All right. Anyway, that's enough of my my quarterly squirrel. But back to the Pelta. But yeah, we've got a support team. We've got fleet support on the transport frigate, so we can put some bomber command center on there or something like that. That's really cool. We've got the ability to put that on there. We didn't have that. And the Rebel version has fleet command. This one does not have fleet command. It's got the fleet support upgrade, which is a really I think that's what you're really losing. That's why it's so cheap. 45 points is awfully cheap. But it's look. These are tough little ships, right? Because they. And I really am curious about the defensive cards, the defensive tokens, because the Rebels have a brace, redirect, and evade. And so what are the clones going to have? Are they going to have brace, redirect, and evade? That's going to be interesting, because that makes a 45.5 hull, 3 shields in the front, 2 shields, like moderately well shielded ship. For 45 points with a brace and 5 hull. That's not bad. That could be. I mean, a swarm of these would be really tough to kill, and you could fit a lot more of them than you can do if you're doing the Rebel version. Granted, I don't think I'm going to fly that many Peltas, because at least in this case, I'll have to compare the actual cardboard. If the lines are drawn exactly the same way, I could probably just proxy some of my Rebel Peltas for clone Peltas, and can you paint a Venator to be Imperial when it comes out? Maybe. I'm not. That's not going to be one of my first orders of business, but that's a good idea. I think that's a fun idea, and I think I can probably do that. I'll say this: I'm cautioning about that because The reason I'm cautioned to do that is because I do believe there's a very realistic chance we will see an Imperial Venator released at some point. The Empire used Venators for a very long time, so they should, by all accounts, eventually make an Imperial Venator. However, if they ever do that, nothing's stopping me from just repainting it, my Republic one back in Republic colors, right? Like, there's nothing stopping me from doing that, so... Yeah, I might consider doing that. It depends how many I get, because I'm not always going to... I like to run... I'm at the point right now where I think I kind of want to run fleets to be a little bit closer to canon colors. And I know if some of you saw some of my repaints there, at least the one Acclimator is a little bit more red than everything else. But red is one of the Republic colors, so that kind of maroon-ish. What if the Venator is actually a dual-faction ship? I don't think so. I think we would see more in the preview. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about the Pelta, because we've got 2 command, 2 squadron, 4 engineering on the medical frigate. It's also different than the numbers that we saw on either of the rebel ships, because none of them have 2 squadron. They both have 2 command and 4 engineering, but the assault ship has 1 squadron, and the command ship has 3 squadrons. So this is clearly almost a totally different ship. More like a totally different ship that's inspired, or that's related to the Rebels version. This also tells me that the Architans for the Republic is likely going to be different. And if they make the Architans cheaper for the Republic, forget about it. I will pre-order like 6 of them. No, I'm serious, because the Architans is my favorite ship in the game, and I usually run them almost naked. I don't need all that stuff that they have slots for, although now there's a little more use for some of it. But, my goodness. If they were going to do dual faction, they would have done it with the Quasar. Well, yeah, but sometimes opinions change. They could potentially change their mind, especially under new management. They definitely can potentially do that. I definitely want to see them do that, you guys. I want to see more factions. I want to see more ships cross over faction lines. There's a lot of theft of ships. There's a lot of borrowing. There's a lot of new ownership. A lot of that happens in Star Wars. I'd like to see more of that represented in the game. And you can do that a lot of ways. You can reissue ships, new paint jobs of ships, or just repackaging of ships. You can even do a cardboard expansion in a campaign that has new cardboard bases and ship cards and stuff like that. I'm all about that stuff, man. More the merrier. All right, so we got more stuff here. We know that there's 2 commanders in here. It looks like we're getting... we got Tarkin already. Have you guys seen my Tarkin Skittles meme? I posted that in my Discord earlier today. And I posted that in, I think, a couple of other places, too. I posted it on Reddit also. That was a funny one. But Captain Silver, we got a clone officer. It looks like he's going to be a nav-based commander. So, everybody needs a nav-based commander. Something after you execute a maneuver during your determined course step, if you resolved a nav command during your activation, you may exhaust this card. He might be an officer. He might not be a commander, right? He might be an officer. I don't see too many commanders that have you exhaust them, but he does that's. Then again, Piet is one that lets you do that, and then we also have another card up here that's some kind of mission, and I don't know if that's humanitarian mission, mercy mission. Mercy mission looks like it would fit. Yeah, and that's also, you weren't on any mercy mission this time. And so that's what I kind of think it is. I think it's mercy mission. But it could be humanitarian. It could be relief mission. Relief mission would fit. There's plenty of episodes in the Clone Wars where they were dropping off supplies. Is that Ryloth? Maybe those. Is that Ryloth? Maybe that they're dropping off supplies. Yeah, relief is also possible. All right, I got some people in the chat agree with that. But yeah, so can't really see a whole lot about it. You can see actually a little bit of the text like right through the hole in this card. Increase something by points. I don't know if it gets you. Maybe it gets you victory points. Maybe it gets you shields. Maybe I don't know what it does. I'm guessing it's going to gain you victory points, like a victory token or something like that. wouldn't it be interested if that was a fleet command, right? And because look, I think at least one version of the Pelta is going to give you fleet command options. The Republic doesn't have a way to do fleet command throughout the whole game. The closest they can do is flag bridge currently. So it could also be supply mission. Somebody said supply lines. Yeah, yeah. It could be supply mission too. Maybe they're dropping. That might be crates with parachutes attached to them that they're dropping off. Could be. It could be Ryloth. I think there's a good chance that it's Ryloth. So, yeah, we're getting some interesting stuff here. Not a whole lot. I'm really curious about the medical frigate and the transport frigate being so cheap. Which one's cheaper? You know, I'm quite curious. Because the transport frigate looks like it looks like it's closer range though. The medical frigate might have might be the blue and red dice version. I don't really see a medical frigate being heavily armed though. I see a medical frigate being more about supply support. So sometimes support ships are cheaper. I don't know if that's cheaper than 45, dude. Insane. I just can't see it being. I can't see a 5-hull, 2-command ship, fairly well shielded, with a brace possibly because the Rebel versions had braces. I can't see that being less than 45. That's just really good if that's the case. This is just so interesting. I am, as much as I love this game, looking at this kind of stuff is just like, wow. What could this be overpowered? What am I not seeing? Right? Because there's so many more things. There's so many more things that that we haven't seen yet that could inform this. Like maybe this is only really good if you put the clone upgrades on there, but maybe the clones and like the officers and all those clone-specific upgrades really fill out the cost. And that's the medical might have less weapons. Yeah, it might have like just a blue dye everywhere. They might make it totally different, and that's maybe why they have hidden it so well. This might be the first example where we see different defense tokens on different versions of a ship, right? It's so cool. It's just really, really cool. All right, now let's talk about the Venator. I know you guys have been asking about the Venator. We're going to talk about the Venator right here. And I was taking out the background and I took out part of the top card. There's a lot to unpack here. Plo Koon, Ahsoka, looks like the self-propelled artillery, the Fat T turbo laser weapon up there. I had to go look that up. That artwork is almost exactly the opening scene of Episode 3, where they had those six-legged artillery guys mounted inside the docking bay, firing out. Really, really cool. Basically, in Episode 3, in the opening shot, basically it takes out a munificent one shot. So perhaps there's a super weapon option. That's what maybe there's a super weapon option, although we don't see it here, right? So let's talk about what we can see. We've got a Venator 1 and a Venator 2. We can see a little bit of them. 9 hull on both versions, right? We can see the Venator 1 on the ship card right here. They both have 9 hull. The Venator 1 has 2 anti-squadron die, 2 blue. The Venator 2 has a blue and a black. We know we've got a brace and a contain at least. At speed 1, we only have 1 click, so maybe not the most maneuverable ship. I don't know how fast it can go. The Venator 1 is clone and Jedi encoms. This is the first, I think this is the first new trait we've seen, is the Jedi trait, which is nice. I like seeing the Jedi trait. I like that. Also, we've got Officer Weapons Team. I think that's Fleet Command on the Venator 1. I was just saying, hey, they don't have Fleet Command on the Pelta. And here it is. Look at this images that you just downloaded. I just got these recently, so I'm kind of going through them live with you guys, right? I think that's Fleet Command. It's offensive retrofit also, then ordnance, and then turbo lasers. And it looks like 90 points. 90 points. That's a little bit on the. That's a little cheap for a large ship, isn't it? You know, and also at $65, you're like, whoa, wait, do I want to get? How many of these do I want to get? No, do I want to buy like? I think this is one you're gonna want to get 3 of. Oh my goodness, I think this is one. Boy, oh boy. So 90 points for this one. We don't know the stats because the Venator 2's got 3 command, which this one will probably have 3 command. 5 squadron and 4 engineering. I'm guessing this one might not have the same squadron and engineering values, or maybe it will. We don't know. But also, like, look at while you. I know some people are like, "Wow, 90 points. That's like." Do you guys think that's crazy cheap compared to other large ships? Seems crazy cheap. We got 4 shields in the front, 3 on each of the sides, and then 2 in the back. From a certain point of view, though, that's awfully more expensive than the Victory. The Victory Star Destroyer has the same exact frontal armament, and all similar shields. It's got one more in the front and the back, but this, other than that, it's the same shields all the way around. The Victory has more red dice on the side. 2 red and a black versus 2 black and a red, and you toss this in a blue. So, I mean, you're getting an extra die on the sides, an extra die in the rear, and a little more shields. I feel like it's kind of, I feel like it's more compatible to a Victory, but I mean it's supposed to, it's kind of like in between, right? I don't know. Very interesting though. We get turbo laser and ordnance, much like a Victory. Offensive retrofit, fleet command, which is just going to be great flagship right here, but no defensive retrofit. Right, that's the problem. No defensive retrofit here. Why are they so expensive in real dollars? That's a great question. A lot of people are asking that question. I am going to probably cover that in another video because I want to do more investigation on inflation. Because look, this game came out in 2015. It was announced in 2014. They had to set prices years ago, right? I mean, couple more years, this game is going to be a decade old. So, prices change over time, but they can't just suddenly. It's harder for them to you never see them just changing the prices of games like oh, it's been $20 and now it's $30. Like, well, it was $20 yesterday. Same exact product, right? You usually don't see that. So unless they come out with a new edition, like when the X-Wing did that, then they could come out with a whole new edition. So I think that, I don't know. You also thought like, hey, with the dials and stuff not coming in here, maybe we were gonna get, it being cheaper because there's less plastic. On the plus side, though, if we're being optimistic, they are coming with 2 commanders each. You're getting like a little more gameplay content in each of these expansions. I recognize totally that that's just one card that costs them probably less than a penny in bulk to make. But there's also development time that goes into that stuff. So, but between inflation and maybe the costs of imports, I know there's tariffs now. Things aren't as cheap to have made in China to get imported over here anymore. So I don't know. I don't really know why it costs more, but I can promise you that it's not a simple greed-based solution. I don't think anybody's getting super rich off of this stuff. I think if people were getting super rich, they wouldn't have had to let so many people go, and you wouldn't have had. How many times did FFG and Asmodee announced layoffs in 2020? It was. I don't think they're getting filthy rich off of this stuff. I think they're trying to stay in business. But that's me kind of being, giving them some good faith. I don't know everything. Maybe somebody is getting rich and somebody's taking advantage, but I don't think so. I think they're trying to stay in business, and there's increasing costs. All right, but let's get back to the ships. We'll run through all of them again, too. If you guys are just joining in, we're running through all of these ships that were just leaked from Wave 10. We got new images of them. It looks cool, though. Yeah, the Venator's much cheaper than I think some people thought. I think it's reasonable. It doesn't have like the craziest dice on it, but it seems kind of well-rounded. Will be a good command ship, I think. So we've got Plo Koon. I'm thinking Plo Koon is a commander. He looks like he's going to be the squadron-based commander. which I love because he does care about he cares about his dudes, right? He cares about his clones. I love Plo Koon. So a friendly squadron is attack, whether it's attacked or attacking. That is distance 1 of 3 of a ship. So I think if your squadron's attacking another squadron, but they're close to one of the ships, they get to change the die to an accuracy. That'll be so. I think that's going to help ace hunters, all right? Something like that. And we can't read the whole card. I think it's something about giving squadrons accuracy. I'm pretty sure that he's a commander based on the sound of that. That doesn't sound like an ability they typically give an officer. Ahsoka, however, on the other hand, is probably an officer. Considering we also know we're getting Luminara, and we talked about her already yesterday. Well, I did yesterday, this morning, I should say. Depending on where on the globe you're watching me, it might be the future or the past. But yeah, so it looks like we're getting a Ahsoka Tano officer. Or boarding team, maybe. I don't know how they're doing all that. And this looks like a ship that can take boarding teams, so no problem there. And then, of course, the Spati. I don't even know how you say it. The Spati? I don't know how you guys pronounce it. But the self-propelled artillery thing. Basically, that howitzer type of artillery thing was mounted in the docking bay. Shoots out. Super powerful beam. Seems like that should use like a super weapon slot, but we don't see anything like that on this one. So there's a lot of guesswork to do here. Is that something that maybe the Venator 2 will have a super weapon slot that the Venator 1 does not? They're certainly doing a lot of that. Self-propelled heavy artillery, right? T for turbo laser version. I think that's how it is. Cooper Stone is giving me some spelling corrections. Thank you, Cooper. I appreciate you, man. Or lady or man, or I don't know. I appreciate you, Cooper. Coop. I don't know if you go by Coop or not. I start talking and I can't stop talking. It's because of all the coffee. Let's calm down for a minute. I get really excited when new Armada stuff comes. When we get new leaks. Also, I posted all these pictures in my Discord. If you guys are not members of Discord, make sure you click on the links. You can join the Discord from there. We've got communities for our Armada, X-Wing, Legion, and more. And it's a growing Discord. We're getting pretty big, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, they're pinned to the Armada channel, so you can see them there and take a closer look at your leisure. I'm sure you do that. It's a cool thing. I got lots of other interesting links in the video description. Plus, if you wanted to pick up any of these cool masks or shirts or socks, I got Grand Admiral Thrawn Chimera socks. Those are kind of cool. We got our masks too. Whatever faction was your favorite. We got all kinds of cool stuff like that. All that stuff is down in the video description below. It's a great way to support the channel. All right, so yeah, I'm really curious how the Spati is going to work, and I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how that super laser works. I think we only ever saw it used one time, right? And that was in episode 3. I think that was it. So I don't. What if it's a once per game shot? What if it's like a turbo laser upgrade, and then it destroys a ship and then it's done, and it's like 50 points. Maybe what if it's like you roll 6 red, blue, and black dice, and you can't modify it. You just roll it and it's done. And then it's gone, and it's 50 points, right? Oh, gosh. Like that, there's got to be a point cost for an upgrade that would do something like that. Just roll all of these dice, can't modify it. How much should something like that cost? Because some people would say, like, well, that's just broken. That's game-breaking. Well, if it costs 200 points, is it game-breaking? At best, they're going to take out one ship, But, yeah. Connor says, you forgot the stealth ship is a thing. Yeah, the stealth ship, That might happen. I think that's where we'll see Anakin as a commander. That's the best place, I think, to bring Anakin into the game as commander. Although we might see Anakin as an officer in one of these packs. The Venator is a good option to have more Jedi officers. I think Anakin's one of those characters we're going to see in a lot of different forms because of the fact that Mandator 1... Gosh, we were talking about that. When was I talking about Mandator 1? We were talking about that in Discord earlier today, as a matter of fact. Yeah, I think I want them to do the Mandator 1. It should be canon, and because I believe it was actually before the Clone Wars. I think it was one of the Republic's, Republic's largest warship that was like decommissioned when they did their stand down of their military, and that's why they were so ill prepared when the Clone Wars started and had to have a clone army because they had decommissioned a lot of their warships. So that's all pretty interesting. Let's run through everything again for anybody who was not here from the beginning. But yeah, we've got the Providence. We got a good look at the Providence. We are seeing that Admiral Trench is going to come in there, and this is fully organic Admiral Trench, leaving room potentially for a later, Mecha Trench. Or however they want to do the Episode 7 version. I don't know if they'll do a whole nother version of Cyborg Trench, but I think they could. Or they could do a Cyborg Trench as an officer if they wanted to make him a little different. That could be kind of cool. If they wanted to have him, run him under a Wat, with Wat Tambor as a commander at some point, perhaps. They could do different versions of different characters. I think that'd be fun. We got the Jedi Hostage there, which is going to do something to tokens. Some kind of token-related penalty to ships that open fire on your ship, which I like that idea, and it's looks like it's Grievous getting ready to execute. I don't know if that's Shock T in that image, or if that's just one of the... I mean, he took so many hostages. We would torture them and try and get him, like that one story arc about the holocrons. And then we've got the shield card up there, whether that's a defensive retrofit... Maybe, but the Dreadnought that we can see doesn't have defensive retrofit, or whether it's a title. Well, yeah. So, what does the price say? 105? Is that 105? We talked about this already. Here, let me blow it up. That looks like 105 for the Providence right there. I think that's 105, yeah. And the other things that we don't know is whether or not this is the cheaper version, whether the Providence is the cheaper one or the more expensive one, right? But no, I think the Providence is going to be very different than a lot of the other Separatist ships. The Providence, I think, will be fun to fly with hard cells. All ships that want to kind of go right at the enemy. I think that'll be fun. And have him lead the charge, keep your hard cells behind... Have him go fast. If they try to scooch around him, he side arcs them. And if they try to approach the hard cells, he's just like, no. You just put yourself in my side arc. Thank you. That'd be fun. Why no regular Providence? There's also the Providence class carrier. You have a Dreadnought and a carrier. You have two different versions. There's not only a Dreadnought. There's two. They just only showed us the details for one. The other one is a mystery. It does have 2 ticks at speed 1. That's kind of cool. The carrier might be the cheaper version. I think so. I think there's a good chance of that. And our Recusant is super cheap at only 85 points. Only 85 points for the Recusant. That is, I think, the bigger takeaway, or the biggest takeaway for this one, that our light destroyer is 85 points. We don't know if the support destroyer is more expensive or less expensive, or perhaps even the same cost. But that is very exciting. It looks like we're getting a droid, a T-Series, as perhaps a droid commander for this one as well. And some other Separatist actions and new boarding teams and all kinds of stuff like that. You thought this one looked like 105? I thought so at first too, but here, let's blow it up a little bit more. If we blow it up, if you look closer, you can clearly see that's an 8 and a 5. It's definitely 85 there. From a distance, though, if you look at it real small, it does look at first glance like 105. It does. All right. So, and then of course, our Republic ships. The Pelta is sitting at only 45 points for the transport frigate. That's way cheaper than the Rebels version. Different upgrades, fleet support, but no fleet command. We've also got defensive retrofit here. Not very heavily armored ships, right? You're not getting any ordnance on this one, like you would on the Rebel version. So these are more about being support type vessels, I feel, which is kind of cool. I kind of like that. Off topic, but in the vein of other live casts, WizKids has come out with Star Trek Alliance, a cooperative miniatures game. Cooperative and miniatures game sounds strange. Is it like Imperial Assault? I don't know. I'll tell you what, I will look into that. That would be something interesting to look into. It's probably going to be away teams, though, and it would probably be nicer if it was starships, but WizKids doesn't make the best miniatures, so it's kind of a shame. I wish they would stop making games and just lose their license, or at least lose the exclusivity to make starship games, because I want Asmodee to get that license and give it to Atomic Mass Games. The Mandator wouldn't be a large. The Mandator would be huge, I'm pretty sure. It's not as big as the Executor, but not everything has to be as big as... it's the Star Trek version of Heroes of the Aturi Cluster. Well, we'll take a look at it. I'm sure it's probably using their attack wing minis, which are okay, but they could do so much better than that. But yeah, so our Pelta is going to be interesting. We've got some new stuff there with Captain Silver. Looks like he might be a nav-based commander, or possibly just an officer. But if he's a captain, I don't see him just being an officer on the ship. He should be well, he could be an officer on a ship. Actually, a captain of a ship would still do the, he could be. We'll see. I don't know if he's going to be an officer or a commander. Could go either way. And then some kind of relief mission, supply mission, mercy mission, something like that. And then, of course, the Venator with Plo Koon, the squadron-based commander, who has a way to give squadrons who are kind of close to him or close to nearby ships an accuracy, or change the die to an accuracy somehow. Mandator is 8 kilometers. Yeah, that's definitely falls into the huge ship category. Huge ship all the way. I mean, honestly, I think you should make a Lucrehulk a huge ship, and I think that was only like 3 or 4 kilometers long, because it's also wide. Also, I think the Lucrehulk is where you should start the line for huge ships, and Mandator is bigger than that. And yes, Mandator 1, because I'm not talking about the Imperial variants. The other ones would be for the Empire, and I think they'll do an Assertor or a Bellator before they do Mandators 2 and 3, because they already have art for those. For the Bellator, it looks like on was one of those. I think it was the external racks or something like that. But yes, this is fun. This is exciting to have all this stuff. Ahsoka as an officer, the SPHAT looking art up there. It's exciting. Are they canon? Well, the Mandator line is canon. So I'll kind of end. We're going to kind of wrap up the live stream, but we'll talk about Mandators a little bit. So the Mandator 4 is the Dreadnought that you see in The Last Jedi. It is known as the Mandator 4 Dreadnought. So that inherently implies the canonity of the Mandator line, including the Mandator 1, Mandator 2, and Mandator 3. So the storylines for a short storyline of the Mandator line is the Mandator 1 was a Republic ship, I believe prior to Episode 1. When they stood down their military, they had these huge ships which were Mandator 1s. They kept the blueprints for them, but then kind of retired all those ships and broke them down and stuff like that, because they were at peace. Then the Clone Wars happened. And I think in some of Legends, like you saw like maybe a spare Mandator or something like that show up in a battle somewhere, but it's not currently canon that they were ever on screen or anything like that. And then the Empire brought about the Mandators 2 and Mandators 3, and then there was variations off of, I believe the Mandator 3 had 2 variants, which were the Assertor and the Bellator. The Assertor was bigger, the Bellator wasn't that big, but it was still pretty big, still huge ship territory, but it was like the fastest of the huge ships. That's the one I like because I have that model from Mel Miniatures, and it's a really groovy model. But yes, yeah. So that's and then the Mandator 4, the First Order created, and that's their Dreadnought. Which I think that Dreadnought, the Mandator 4, would be really cool. It's one of the things I think when I think about the sequel trilogy too. Like there are some things I really think would work well in this game. Like having a First Order Dreadnought would look super cool on the tabletop. I like that, especially since we mostly saw it from the top. I feel like it would work well in this game as a huge ship. But yeah. But all right, guys, that's gonna do it for this video. These leaks. All of these images are, I call them leaks because they've done this before where they released too much stuff on the Asmodee pre-order website and then took it down again or whatever because like these weren't in the initial article. But it's fun. It's just juicy stuff. And of course, as more information comes out, I will keep you guys updated. But yeah, be sure and check out Discord. I've got all these images pinned in the Armada channel, so do that. And I will talk to you guys soon. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. And as always,